Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor by air.
Ask not what your country can do.
President Kennedy has been shot.
It needs to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
In the fall of 2008, Democrat Barack Obama, a half African American, had won the presidential election against Republican candidate John McCain. It was a massive turning point in American history, the first black president, something nobody expected. America has greatly evolved with its culture and the ever-increasing use of the internet. The country, however, was still in an economic recession, caused by a drastic increase in debt and excessive mortgage lending to borrowers who normally would not qualify for a home loan. Although, there was another rather amusing man on the rise at the time.
Hey guys, Jimmy Fallon here. First off, I would like to say, congratulations. We've done it. We've elected an African-American president. Racism is over. And although there was a belief that we would enter a post-racism state, this illusion fell apart quickly with more scrutiny upon the law enforcement system, which still had racist motivation among its ranks.
On the technical side of things, the smartphone was becoming ever more commonplace. At the front of this technological revolution was Steve Jobs, CEO of Apple Incorporated.
And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
Not only did he create a phone that was smarter and ahead of its competitors, but his technologies would also create a dominating empire.
It's kind of funny. We started in a garage, and now we're pushing society forward.
It's honestly genius what he's created. He first revolutionized the music industry with the creation of the iPod, and then the computer industry, the Macintosh, and now the phone industry with the iPhone. It blows my mind.
The idea of the iPhone, well, it was kind of a fun plan to make a cool phone. After the iPod success, it occurred to me that other smartphone manufacturers can add all the functions of the iPod to their devices, freezing our sales. The solution? Do it ourselves before they can. We enter the market with the iPhone, destroying our own iPod sales, but taking over the mobile phone market in the process.
He had a vision. It always starts with a vision. But what he did, he took that vision and he made it reality through hard work, perseverance, and dedication, and with the help of many other people, including researchers, developers, his family, everyone around him.
In accordance to being a cool phone, the iPhone operated just on your fingertips instead of a clunky stylus. It paved the way for increased touchscreen capabilities for future iPhone variants. Combined with increased use of the internet, touchscreen technology allowed easy traversal of platforms such as Facebook, which is one of the largest social media platforms at the time. Such innovations were, say, necessary to modernize the world. Apple is now at the forefront of smartphone development in America. We are at the center of a smartphone revolution. We are forging stronger connections between the citizens of the world. We are inventing a means for people to come together, no matter the distance.
You see, the more and more the mobile phone advanced in the mainstream, the more you got this vision of a gradual yet colossal shift of people's attention to the screen. More and more, content became available to everyone, giving people a bigger hand in swaying public opinions and connecting communities. For the political side of things, the internet and mobile access meant the ability to be more transparent, which Obama used to great effect. However, it also opens the government to more outside criticism. As smartphones became and still become more advanced, we can only expect that issue to grow. Gone are the days where general public had little or no idea on government workings. Now the information age has entered the next stage.
I remember Twitter was in its infancy, and I was thinking, if the iPhone advances and allows for external apps, meaning apps made by other developers other than Apple, we would be in for millions. Instant success, just like that. we would skyrocket in success. Finally, in 2010, we acquired the application developer Atomist, and it helped design a Twitter client called Tweety, which is essentially Twitter for the iPhone. And the app has grown ever since. I'm thankful to have worked for this successful company, and I'm an extremely proud founder.
Apple has gone on and still is today the head of the smartphone industry in the United States. One man used such technology to rise up and lead the nation, the newly inaugurated President of the United States, Barack Obama.
As the 44th President of the United States, I had the privilege of leading the nation during a transformative time. When I took oath of office, there were both positive and negative reception in the House. However, most of it wasn't based on concerns for my ethnicity. It was more of, how would this man handle the rapidly advancing capability of this country type of concerns. My administration faced significant challenges. We inherited a country during the midst of a severe economic crisis, and we worked tirelessly to stabilize the economy, create jobs, and rebuild our infrastructure. Our efforts helped to bring an era of sustained growth and recovery for our economy. Furthermore, we confronted major national security threats during my presidency. The Boston Marathon bombing in 2013 was a tragic event that shook the nation. We took swift action to bring the perpetrators to justice while also emphasizing unity and resilience in the face of adversity. With the nation being in a devastated state, I needed to find ways to connect with my fellow Americans. Through platforms like Twitter and Facebook, I engaged with citizens, shared important updates, and encouraged civic participation. This new approach to communication revolutionized the way leaders engage with the public and helped create a more inclusive and accessible government. One of the key areas where we brought substantial change was in healthcare. I made it a priority to address the long-standing issues with our healthcare system and work towards transforming it. The passage of the Affordable Care Act was a landmark achievement. It aimed to ensure that every American had access to affordable and quality healthcare, providing vital protections and expanding coverage to millions who were previously uninsured. This was a critical step toward creating a more equitable and compassionate society.
One of the most critical moments in Obama's career was the successful operation that led to the killing of Osama bin Laden. The war on terror was a long-standing feud between America and Al-Qaeda, and to see it finally end at the work of Obama greatly bolstered his standing, despite all the time it took to get the job done. Compared to George W. Bush's policy on terrorism, Obama's was more ethical and, say, streamlined. Instead of invasions and sabotage, the results of which were rarely declassified, Obama's policy was transparent, and that was key in raising his trust with the people of America.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
The hunt for bin Laden was a top priority for America's intelligence and military forces. It was a complex and highly secretive operation that required extensive planning, coordination, and precision. For almost a decade, American forces had been tracking down the terrorist. Eventually, intelligence officials identified a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, where it was believed that bin Laden was hiding.
And finally, last week, I determined that we had enough intelligence to take action and authorized an operation to get Osama bin Laden and bring him to justice. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan.
On May 2, 2011, a team of highly trained Navy SEALs raided the compound, killing Osama bin Laden. On that same day, Obama released a statement on the situation, bringing closure to the saga of 9/11.
Yet, as a country, we will never tolerate our security being threatened, nor stand idly by when our people have been killed. We will be...
In December of the same year, the conflict of the 2003 invasion of Iraq ended. It started from the U.S. overthrowing the government of Saddam Hussein and destroying weapons of mass destruction. Obama ended the combat mission, leading to the withdrawal of approximately 39,000 troops back to their families. His plans to end the conflict, however, were tarnished by Iraqi sectarian politics, Iranian meddling, and the civil war across the border of Syria. 2 months earlier, Steve Jobs succumbed to his pancreatic cancer, which he had been fighting for multiple years. Millions would mourn his tragic death, leaving half-bitten apples and flowers outside Apple stores in his memory.
All of a sudden, Twitter is blowing up left and right. I just couldn't get it out of my mind. I was quite shocked, to be honest, about Steve's death. Um, he took this struggling company and he used his brilliance and ideologies, and he's made Apple one of the most successful companies in the world to this day. My condolences to Steve and his family. May he rest in peace. I still look up to him as an inspiration to this day.
With the success surrounding Obama's presidency, the election of 2012 was around the corner. Obama had a different contender to face, Mitt Romney, governor of Massachusetts. It was the first presidential election since the 2010 census, which had modified the Electoral College.
Honestly, this was an interesting time. In my mind, I was thinking, Obama's got it. He's been an outstanding president in the past term. And what if he's the first African American president, bringing down the guy responsible for 9/11, Obamacare, and maturely handling the Great Recession? If anybody asked me to bet on the election, I would have put my money down on the table, all in for Obama's victory.
With an easy quip.
And congratulations to you, Mr. President, on your anniversary. I'm sure this was the most romantic place you could imagine, here with me.
So I made sure I provided Obama with the resources to make his campaign effective and to win the overall election. I, as the CEO of Twitter, provided him with an effective platform to put his message out and for him to independently preach his campaign. Unlike previous presidential candidates, Obama's will reached further with increased efficiency, giving him the edge over Mitt Romney's more traditional approach, and allowing Obama to win the election. I think that was one of the key factors to his victory.
Victorious he would be, and cheerful the nation would mostly be following Obama's presidential victory. But would his second term be as prosperous as first? Would Obama experience a second term curse? These were the real questions that the public was asking at the time. I myself was no exception. See, the whole deal with the second term curse is simply that the president's second term is less successful than her first. It isn't too rare that the second term contains a scandal or two, or possibly some decisions unhealthy for public approval. And the latter is precisely what happened with Obama's defense of the NSA.
When I came into this office, I made two commitments that are more important than any commitment I make. Number one, to keep the American people safe. And number two, to uphold the Constitution. And that includes what I consider to be a constitutional right to privacy.
I remember when this happened, and I specifically remember the fact that Twitter, unlike other social media platforms, did not participate in the NSA's surveillance program.
How do you make sure current and future generations never treat government surveillance as normal?
I actually interviewed Snowden, and I remember he called out Trump and sent a strong anti-surveillance message to him. His belief was that by hiding everything from the public, you are harming their lives by not revealing the truth. You are keeping secrets that could harm the patriotic synergy that's within the American people. He said that the answer to bad speech is more speech. Tell the public more and more to prevent the spread of rumors was his ideal. And if not done, that could quote unquote harm America.
There's been an increasing imbalance of power where that idea of private citizens and public officials has been inverted, where instead of them knowing very little about us and us knowing very much about them, now they have classification, now they have state secrets they can hide behind their power. We know almost nothing about what public officials are doing.
Around the time of this event, Obama continued his social and economic reforms. For example, the increase of the minimum wage for federal contractors and proposing tax reforms to increase taxes on the wealthy. He also signed the Paris Agreement and implemented the Clean Power Plan, which aimed to reduce carbon emissions. These were both examples of his addressing of key issues in the U.S. at the time.
I have had the opportunity to talk with President Obama near the end of his presidency. After Trump was elected to be president, he seemed to not be very satisfied with what Trump and the Republican Party was going to offer. He was also very concerned about the future of the Republican Party. Let's be clear, Donald Trump has not had any experience with politics in the first place. How are we expecting this guy, of all people, to be able to hold the presidency without many things going wrong? Obama wants a lot of bipartisan policies to be passed. He wants the Democratic and Republican Party to be unified. According to him, the Republicans who were there when he first started his presidency were not willing to do that. Because of that, policies to stop the recession in 2008 were delayed a lot. Let's see exactly what he said.
Sacrifice. Having said that, we agreed that there must be some sensible common ground. So I appointed my Treasury Secretary, Tim Geithner, and my Budget Director, Jack Lew, to work with representatives of both parties to break through this logjam.
He was worried that now that the Republicans are taking over the presidency, that the division of political parties will still continue to be there. And honestly, I think that he might be right. Moving away from the presidency, me and Obama met a few years ago. Let's have a good laugh at that too.
I actually did. Well, I wore a three-piece suit that day because I just wanted to impress you. But it was an outdoor event on the 4th of July. And I remember I got there, and Dave Grohl was there in board shorts and a T-shirt, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "you look hot." I go, "I really am. It's really boiling. I mean, this is crazy." He goes, I go, "Aren't you?" I'm meeting the president. He goes, "Yeah, well, we're kind of basically saying we're the Foo Fighters. We don't."
Obama was like a, say, refresher of a president for the nation. And what I mean by that is not that he was the first of his race to claim the presidency, but instead that he brought the country into its next phase. Obama was the president who oversaw the modernization of the 50 states. He kept both international and domestic affairs in line, and managed to avoid the second-term course. And since an African-American president was elected, how about the next big step? As the country watched for the next election, they would have the opportunity to elect a woman for president, being Hillary Clinton. As the engines of politics revved up again, America would see the internet becoming exponentially more hectic. But that is a story for the next episode. We'll see you soon on the era of Donald Trump and tense global affairs in the next episode of The Century.